Exponents and Roots number 1, the first of 2 straight assignments on Exponents and Roots. Let's dive right in and check it out. Right off the bat, I hope you have your Desmos calculator up, as always, and I hope that you have something to write with or write on. If you do not, pause the video now and go get that, because we're going to be doing some algebra today. And algebra is always much better to write out as you go. All right, hopefully you're back with some writing utensils. If not, good luck. It says find the real solution of the equation. Write exact simplified solutions. If multiple solutions exist, separate them with commas. All right, right away, you see a standard algebra problem, at least somewhat similar to what you're used to. You might be used to something like x plus 2 is 4, solve for x. Now we've got x squared equals 9. Well, the same algebra rules are going to apply to every one of these problems as normally apply to any algebra problem. And the rules are as follows. I draw this mark straight down the middle for the equal sign. It's always up to you whether you want to do that or not. I just like that because sometimes you get confused and add 2 things to the left side instead of 1 to the left and 1 to the right, or 2 on the right side. The rules apply just like always, that when you do something to one side of your equation, you have to do it to the other side. I always think about this as a parent with multiple kids. Like I was a triplet growing up. My mom always had to give us exactly the same amount of food, clothing, whatever. And if there was even one article or item of food off, there was a war. So if you ever want to start a war, you just take somebody's piece of goldfish when they weren't looking and put it on the other person's plate and be like, hey, you should count your goldfish again. Not that I'm, recommending that, but the point is keep both sides of your equation in line all the way from top to bottom. The second rule is what I like to call backwards PEMDAS without the P, because we almost rarely have parentheses. It's the most emo acronym ever. Sad me. Oh, it's so sad. It's like it's back in middle school. No. Back in middle school when I learned this, ironically, too. And that stands for first subtracting and adding, then dividing and multiplying, and finally dealing with exponents, where we do the opposite of what's happening on one side to then both sides, always moving away from x. That's why if you have x plus 3, you do minus 3, or x divided by 4, you do times 4. And we'll review all of these things today. But for this, we don't have subtraction and addition in this problem. We don't have division and multiplication. We just have this exponent to get rid of. Right up there, that 2. And how do we get rid of it? Well, we still look to do the opposite. But instead of subtracting and adding, dividing and multiplying, we need to figure out what the opposite of squaring something is. It's not dividing by 2, even though there's 2. Instead, say it out loud if you think you got it. It's this thing. Take the square root of both sides. When we do that, we're going to get x is 3, but since this is an algebra problem, it wants to know every single answer, such that when I square it, I get 9. Well, 3 works, but guess what? So does negative 3. Because negative 3 times negative 3, a negative and a negative make a, that's right, positive 9, which is what we want. So, on this assignment, anytime you take the square root, and that's anytime you have a 2 right here, you're going to have 2 answers. Where's the square root on your calculator? If you don't know, it is down here next to that ABC, in between ABC and pi. You hit that. And then you type in your right side number. When you get that, you don't just have 3 as your answer, remember? I've got 3, comma, negative 3. Okay. Number 2 now, we have a 3 instead of a 2. Does that mean we're going to have 3 answers? No. It actually means we're only going to have 1 answer. In general, anytime you have an odd exponent, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all the way up and up and up forever, you're always going to have 1 answer. Whereas if you have an even exponent, 2, 4, 6, all the way up and up and up, you're going to have 2 answers, the positive and the negative. Where is cubed root, you might ask? Well, it's a good question. And for this, we're going to have to go back to our buttons. Now the good news about this is you only have to find this button once, and then you can just leave it up for not only this assignment, but the next assignment. So I'm going to show you the 3 steps of how to get this. Hit Functions down here, where my arrow is. You'll see a lot of different buttons. Scroll over to where it says Miss, that stands for Miscellaneous. You click on that, and then it's right here. Okay, right here. If you see that, you hit that. That allows you to put a little 3 above here. And then type whatever number you have on the right side. So I've got negative 1,000. Whatever you get is just your answer. Because negative 10 times negative 10 times negative 10 is negative 1,000. But 10 times 10 times 10 is positive 1,000. Cubed roots only have one answer every time. Again, if you need more time, hit pause. The rest of us are moving on to our now Texas 2-step algebra equation. We're going to use our SADME. Meaning we're going to subtract and add first. I am subtracting now, subtracting 4. So I need to do the opposite to both sides. That's add 4. When I do that, on the left I just have x squared. On the right I have 4. Again, I recommend writing these out. So we're done with subtracting and adding. We don't have any dividing or multiplying, so we just have exponents as our second step. We've got to take the square root like we've been doing. When you do that, you will get, I'll show you, 3, 2, 1, it's gone. And I could type in up here in my square root section. Square root of 4, it's 2. What number times itself is 4? That's what the square root means, 2 times 2. So I've got 2 comma negative 2. Don't forget both answers anytime you have the square root. Just like the next one, it's also a square root problem. I'm going to write that one out as well. 3x squared is 243. What do you do when a number and a letter are touching? That's what I always say is like rabbits who are touching. They are multiplying. It's a little gross, but it works. If there's no plus, there's no minus, there's no other sign between these, then they're multiplying, which means we got to do the opposite. Not murder the rabbits, divide. On the left, that leaves x squared. On the right, 243 divided by 3 is 81. Now we can take the square root of both sides, closing this in 3. Pause it if you need to. 2, 1, closing it. Square root of 81 is 9. So 9 comma negative 9. All right, number 5. Now we see that we are dividing on the left side. You see that when I zoom in? You are dividing. So what that means is that we're going to do the opposite. We're going to multiply. When I multiply on the left, what I just get is x squared. When I multiply on the right, 27 times 3 is once again 81. We've had that one before. We know the square root of 81. It's currently sitting on the right side of our screen in our calculator. It's 9. Okay. Then we have a couple things. One is a subtraction situation. The other is, you'll notice we have a cubed root for the first time instead of a square root. So I'm going to add 70 to both sides again. But now I've got a 3. So the cubed root of this would be negative 343. Closing in 3, 2, 1, 0. So I go to my cubed root section because I don't want to have to go type in that button again. Negative 343. It's negative 7. Cool, cool, cool. All right. 6 down, 4 to go. Now we have another division problem because we are dealing with the rabbits, those pesky rabbits. This negative 3 is touching this x cubed with nothing in between. So I need to divide by negative 3. When I do that, I get x cubed is 8. So I could take the cubed root of 8. If I type that in, 3, 2, 1, 0. What number times itself is 8? Well, I know that off the top of my head. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So it's 2. Just 3 problems left. Now I am once again multiplying, because I'm dividing, opposite here. X cubed is 8. Oh my gosh, I have the same one I just had. 2! Wow, that's lucky. I just scroll up and get 2. The last two are our first and second examples, or our first and last examples, where we're going to upgrade from the Texas 2-step to the Tennessee 3-step, or whatever state wants to claim that. So I've got 2x squared minus 10 is 118. Some sad me here. We're going to need to write this out because we're going to use all 3 steps: subtracting and adding, dividing and multiplying, and exponents. So we first subtract and add. So I add 10 to both sides. Write what I still have here, 2x squared. Let's shift this over temporarily. It's a lot to see. 2x squared is 128. Then I'll need to divide and multiply. So I'm going to divide, since I've got the rabbit situation going on. 64. So I'm done with that. Now I need to do exponents. Square root of 64. That means 8 and negative 8. Remember, we have 2 answers anytime that we have 2 in our exponent. 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. And finally, we do our sad me with this problem. X squared over 4 minus 13 is 12. So I'm going to subtract and add first, adding 13 to each side. I get x squared over 4 is equal to 25, so I multiply by 4. And I get x squared is 100, square root, 10 comma negative 10. Always subtracting and adding, then dividing and multiplying. 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, 10 comma negative 10. And we are good. All right, sad me to the rescue. Hopefully you found the square root and cubed root okay. Rewind if you need a little bit more time with any of those. But this video is 13 minutes long, so there you go. Much love to you all. Best wishes on your day. Until next time, Dylan out.